Welcome to John's Media World Extra. It's a really hot day here in Madison, Wisconsin. Wow. We'll try to get through this. We have so much to get to. Let's start off with something that was just an eye-opener. RFK Jr. revealed finally how he and Trump calculate percentages. Listen in disbelief.
There's the senator.
Do you know what it
President Trump has a different way of calculating. If there's two ways of calculating percentage. If you have a $600 truck and you reduce it to 10, that's a 600% reduction.
Wow, that is so wrong, so ridiculous. Even the megas should be able to figure that one out. But wait a minute. RFK Jr. is not done talking about this story.
I was reminded when the president was speaking of a conversation that I had yesterday with one of the Democratic senators who was questioning me during a hearing, and she was ridiculing President Trump for his math. And she was saying, it's mathematically impossible to have a drug drop by 600% cost, which he had claimed. And I said, well, if the drug was $100 and it raised the price to $600, that would be a 600% rise. Well, if it drops from 600 to 100, that's a 600% savings.
My God.
And
stop while you're
ahead. The president used that mathematical device to illustrate the magnitude of the theft that has been happening against our country and our people, as he said.
It's thinking like that, I think, that has brought Trump's polling numbers way, way down. They're going to stick with that. You know what? I'm almost glad they are. Let's go with that for a long, long time because it makes him look dumber and dumber and dumber. All right. Anyway, let's get back to the poll numbers for Trump. Way, way down. Even Fox Business has finally got the idea in this revelation.
There's a new poll. It's from the Associated Press, and it shows President Trump's approval on the economy at just 30%. Overall, his approval isn't that much better. He's at 33%. Yeah. Can Trump turn things around before the midterms, which are, 6 months away?
Well, Stu, this is what I keep talking about. You know, there needs to be a focus on domestic issues by this administration. Trump has always had lower numbers than you would think, meaning he can get elected president with fairly low numbers, but these are reaching a new low. Yeah. And I think it's a reflection of his attention being diverted to things other than what, the types of things that he ran on about the economy and about fixing problems in the United States. He and the Republicans need to give Republican voters some reason to vote for them in the midterms, and those aren't that long away. So they should be getting. they should have been doing a lot more before now, but they definitely can't wait much longer.
I'm reading between the lines, Molly, and you're saying it's possibly a disaster for the Senate and the House.
Yeah. He read between the lines, and he's got every line right. Wow. Well, it looks bad for him, right? I mean, he's basically doing what he said he would do when he was running for president. Now, she's saying that, well, he's getting distracted. Not exactly. No, this is what he did before. I remember the story about the boat and the battery and the sharks. So, no, this is it. This is what we voted for. This is what we got. I didn't vote for it, but this is what the megas voted for and finally got. Now, the Daily Show went out there, and Jordan Klepper asked a few megas a few questions about Trump being Jesus. Got some fun answers. And I got to say this. I really want to play these Daily Show clips, but I can't. They prevented me from doing it for copyright reasons. I got it, okay. But the rules are basically that they put it out there in social media so we can play them and promote their show, but apparently the video section of it is not something I can play. So I'm going to play the audio.
I can see a lot of people being offended by Trump. Trump's not perfect.
He's not perfect. He's just literally breaking the very first commandment.
I don't think Trump thinks he's Jesus or anything like that. I think he posted it thinking it was a beautiful picture.
Turns out Trump also denied the Jesus comparison.
It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor.
He posted it because he thought he looked like a doctor.
I
you call
see a
making our
healer.
country
He's
well
here
again.
to heal the sick. He's beautiful. He looks like a doctor. Look at, he's got his
Oh, yeah.
magic.
A long time.
He's got his
Healing
magic
it.
hand.
Do
Oh,
doctors
no.
traditionally have magic hands?
Well, to you and I, they do. Do you know how to carve somebody up in the stomach and cure whatever, if they have like an intestinal ailment? Can you do that?
I'm poor with the scalpel. You're correct.
Fair enough. Point MAGA. But Trump's brush with organized religion didn't end there.
POTUS versus the Pope.
I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo.
Blasting Leo for opposing America's war in Iran.
Pope needs to stay religion. Keep politics out.
Pope should stay out of politics.
I believe so, yeah.
Should politics stay out of religion?
Yeah.
Should there be the 10 Commandments in schools?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There should be Pledge of Allegiance in school. There should be
prayer.
There should be prayer.
But going back to that whole thing about Pope, stay away from politics.
Yes.
Politics, stay away from religion.
Yes.
10 Commandments, put it in school.
Yes.
Are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Yes, I know what you're saying.
Okay, just
I know what you're saying.
It makes me
I
feel.
know what you're saying.
It makes me feel
Yeah,
good.
she doesn't know what he's saying. She has no idea. Good stuff. Always good stuff from Jordan Klepper. Great comedian. Now let's get to Megyn Kelly's opinion of all of this. She's all over the map, but this one is confusing, and I think basically we're finding out what's going on up here from this conversation that she had. Megyn Kelly is out there talking about the president, bad things about the president, but still, this is the right guy to be in office.
There are aspects of his personality which are obviously not good, and that we've mostly just chosen to overlook. You know, he's not a moral man. He's obviously not the greatest husband in the world.
No.
And he's extremely petty and thin-skinned, extremely petty and thin-skinned. And what we're seeing right now is he's turning on his most loyal supporters because they don't support this war, and getting in bed with people who fucking hate him and have hated him from the beginning and were the original Never Trumpers, as though that's what MAGA is. That's what his core support should look like. Meanwhile, there are many who are over here who have loved Trump for many, many years. We've had our skirmishes in the past. Tucker's had skirmishes with him. I have too. Yeah. But who fought harder than a lot of others during the lawfare against him to make sure people knew that it was bullshit, stood up for him during the actual electoral contest to make sure people understood what was at stake and why he had to be the choice. Who he just, there's no loyalty in return ever from Trump, ever. If you have a principled disagreement with something he does, you're otherized. You're the enemy.
All right. That's Megyn Kelly making the case that he's the right man for the job despite all of those problems that she has with him. And she was aware of those problems well before he became president again. Come on, Megyn. Really? Seriously? No one's buying it. All right. We're going to get to what's going on with the Southern Poverty Law Center and the case being made against them. It's to vilify them, to make them look really bad so they don't go after the bad guys. Interesting stuff. Back in a moment. All right. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche is portraying the Charlottesville Nazi rally as the victims of the Southern Poverty Law Center. Amazing stuff. Truly, really reaching this time. Who knew Unite the Right rally was a hoax, a fake? That's essentially what they're coming down to here. It was blown out of proportion by the, and I'll say it, SPLC instead of the whole name again. But, you've got guys walking around with khakis and tiki torches and stuff like that. Doesn't reveal anything about the crowd at all, right? Okay, so let's listen to Todd Blanche talking about it again.
I mean, Joe Biden used Charlottesville as his fake reason for running for president initially. Is there evidence of a connection there between the Biden DOJ and the SPLC?
Well, that's something that we're still looking into. I know the documents that you're talking about. We also learned, and I talked about it yesterday, we learned that the Biden DOJ shut down this investigation. I don't know why. We don't have answers to why they shut that down.
I've got to stop here. It's interesting that this talk show host, not a very good one, asked a question that he's not ready to answer. They don't have a lot going here. Let's continue.
But it certainly wasn't for the evidence that we collected over the past several months. And when it comes to Charlottesville, as the indictment lays out, one of the organizers of that event was given several $100,000 by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Okay, so again, that you have a situation where you have Biden, you have others pointing that incident as being a stark example of something that they view as exemplary of a major problem in this country.
It is. It's just an amazing thing to hear them say this and try to sell this. It's really hurting my head.
The exact same organization giving hundreds of thousands of dollars to an individual who helped organize that event. And so if you feel like there's a man behind the curtain, in this case, you were right.
Yeah, it certainly is. What a story it is. Good find. The Attorney General, Todd Blanche, we appreciate you. Thank you.
It is quite the story. All right. Now, acting AG is coming across pretty strong there. Anyway, he is saying, who would have thought that the Charlottesville rally, the white supremacist rally, was an example of a major problem in this country? Who would have thought that? It's not really, it was kind of a minor event. Again, tiki torches and all. Now, Kash Patel is embarrassingly obvious about what he's trying to get across here. Why doesn't Kash just say, hey, look, I'm just trying to make the SPLC look bad, okay?
Money doesn't lie. The charity that supposedly fought the Klan funded the Klan. The charity that supposedly fought neo-Nazis funded neo-Nazis.
Oh my God.
The Southern Poverty Law Center ran a methodical, calculated scheme to defraud their donor base of $3 million and lied to them and used an illicit banking structure system to create shell companies to hide their money and who it was being sent to, specifically for the reason to sow discord and hate into our society. This is the ultimate definition of hypocrisy. And if you look at the indictment produced by the Department of Justice and the FBI, you will see that these banking institutions tie directly the funding mechanisms in which the Southern Poverty Law Center used to fund at least 8 hate groups they supposedly wanted to take out, but they were paying the very villains of our society they supposedly wanted to protect us from. That's the ultimate hypocrisy.
It kind of hurts your head when you think that, this sounds logical. This sounds like a way to do it, to pay people on the inside. They're risking everything to be on the inside. You pay them and they come up with the information, work with the FBI in regards to all of this stuff. Seems quite logical, and yet they are flipping it on its head, expecting us to go along with this.
Conservatives are dumb. And they come to the wrong conclusion, and they come to a very self-serving conclusion, which is that anyone who isn't, Daily Wire or Matt Walsh or what have you, anyone who isn't in a movement conservative is somehow a puppet, and the people pulling the strings are graduates of Yale University, the military industrial complex, of the SPLC, the deep state, et cetera. And it's all fake and a sham. The fact is, this indictment does not even suggest that. And it's just a very self-serving thing for conservatives to now say, oh, I knew it was a hoax or something. Charlottesville, again, it's a complicated matter. Charlottesville was not a hoax.
There you go. The official word is, from Richard Spencer, white nationalist, wasn't a hoax. All right. Now, I've got another story here that I think is kind of interesting. I didn't have time to prepare a heck of a lot. I just came across it. but this is Doug Jones, former prosecutor and U.S. Senator, saying what he can about this whole situation. And I think this is really, really profound information anyway, charging the Southern Poverty Law Center with a federal crime for paying informants to help dismantle hate groups. It's an outrageous weaponization of the Department of Justice and the FBI. Let's listen.
The indictment that was returned against the Southern Poverty Law Center is just simply outrageous. This is not the pursuit of justice. This is pure political retribution. This is a Trump administration going after anyone who might oppose them, not just as a tax-exempt organization, but just seeking criminal charges against an organization, the Southern Poverty Law Center, that has been around for 55 years and done remarkable work, seeking justice on behalf of individuals and communities who cannot seek that justice themselves, that do not have that resources. The Southern Poverty Law Center has been there consistently with those voices, with the legal arms. Big example, back in 1981, a lynching that occurred in Mobile, Alabama. Michael Donald was lynched, and it was the Southern Poverty Law Center who represented that family, got not just justice for Michael Donald and his family, but helped dismantle the Ku Klux Klan in Alabama and nationwide. And I got to tell you, I've looked at this indictment. It is absolutely ridiculous to think that they were raising money in a fraudulent way simply because they did not disclose publicly all of the tactics they were using in trying to get and take down and dismantle these agencies. The tactics they are accused of doing in paying informants, including some people, you know, those are tactics used by law enforcement every day. Yes. I mean, I'm a former prosecutor, 2 stints with the Department of Justice. That's how you take down hate groups. That's how you take down extremist organizations. Hell, it's how you take down drug cartels, for goodness sake. That's what they do. And I know firsthand that the Southern Poverty Law Center in the years past have given this information and shared this information with local law enforcement and the FBI. They have used the information to help take down these groups. So this is crazy. This is another example of a weaponization that they are taking to all new levels. And everyone in this state and folks across the country should be alarmed at what they're seeing going on with this Department of Justice and how they are going after political enemies and those who simply oppose this president. It is not the way we do things, and it's certainly never the way the Department of Justice should operate.
That's Alabama's Doug Jones telling it like it is. That should be the final word, right? That should put a capper on all of this. Obviously, it will not. We're going to take a little break here and be back with one final point. We're back again. Let's get to Representative Randy Ogles. All right. Now, this guy's kind of crazy, a little bit out there. Did I say Randy? It's Andy Ogles. But anyway, he continues to show he believes the U.S. is only for Christians. See, this is what happens if we move to a Christian nationalist society here. Now, he said, we're not a melting pot. You're undermining Christianity if you're not assimilating. So I've got a clip here, and I think pretty much says it all. Let's listen.
Giant fondue pot. I like fondue, right? But that's not what America is, right? And so this is, and I understand what he was trying to say, but the delivery, I think, and ultimately his misunderstanding of who we are as a people. If you want to be an American, you've got to earn it, right? You've got to be part of our culture. Wow. You've got to own and be a part of our heritage. You have to want to build this country in the same way our founding fathers did. And so if you're building temples or mosques and you're undermining Christianity, you're not assimilating.
Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
It is futile. That is Andy Ogles saying that people have to assimilate here. This is a Christian nation. They welcome all religions, of course, and they can practice their religion, but they will have to adhere to federal Christian laws that are put in place. Then they will be practicing two religions? I don't know. Well, that's crazy stuff. Look, this guy's under investigation. Prosecutors working on public corruption. Well, wait a minute. He's not under investigation anymore. They were working on a public corruption investigation in his campaign finance violations. Yes, I'm not kidding. Abruptly, though, they withdrew that inquiry. And what happened? Well, Ogles actually put forward the idea that we should allow presidents to have a third term. Well, magic. The wizard found out about it and created a spell that said, hey, that thing is going away. Oh, he might have had campaign violations, but not a big deal. I think I should be president for a third term. So there you go. That's Andy Ogles. By the way, this is kind of an interesting comment from one former FBI assistant director. He said, I'll say it again. We'll see corruption cases on friends of Trump dropped like hot rocks. And that's what we're seeing. Well, thanks for joining us today. John Peterson with Media World Extra. Hang in there. Hopefully, we'll be back.